golden hair. Somebody's mic's on, because I just,
Yeah, she got it,
no, this mic is on.
yeah. Yeah, she hit it and then
Oh,
she
okay,
realized
yeah,
it was
I think that's fine. We're good.
The board has now returned from executive session. We will move forward with our regular meeting. Approval of the minutes for March 6th and March 20th, 2024. Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, I had, no, I gotta find where I put it down. There was just one, not a question, but I think there's an error somewhere. Let me see what page it was on. I thought it said and it should be and. Oh, no, I don't have it. Can't find where I put it down. Find the page, like one of the minutes. Let me find it.
I have another question while we're waiting.
I
if you want
can't
to.
find it
Yes.
now.
I think Ms. Reed's name is not on the members present for a couple of these,
For,
for the
Oh, yeah.
governing boards, yeah, the March 6th.
On page 6.
Yeah, you were here.
Board
There's-
members present, yeah, my name.
Yeah,
is
so
on
you
there.
were here. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
It's on page 15 as well.
Yeah, there's two of them on both. Yeah.
My name's
Yeah.
all over in the minutes, but
Yeah,
not on
board
the
members present, yeah.
Attendance.
So,
No, I can't find it.
okay, I will
Yeah.
move that we table the minutes until we can make,
Yeah,
until
I
we
can
find the
email it.
corrections.
Yeah, I don't know where I put this.
Okay. So I motion that we table the minutes.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So
Okay.
please send any corrections to Krista so they can come back to us at the next meeting.
It is on page 9.
Informational reports. We're going to start with Dr. J.
Madam President, members of the board, and guests, thank you for being here tonight. We just have a few things to share since our last meeting. State testing has now started, so that is a priority right now and our focus. We've had so far, multiple schools have started and things have run very smooth, so special thanks to our principals and assistant principals and deans for putting together the schedules. And a special thanks to Chris for his work as he was leaving, to make sure that was done prior to his departure. And also to Jared and our IT department for making sure everything's working right. All the tests are done electronically, so it's a lot of work to make sure things are running smooth. We'll be in testing session for the next couple of weeks. So elementary grades 3, 4, and 5 will take the AASA. Middle school 6, 7, 8 will take the AASA. High school freshmen will take the ACT Aspire. We also added for sophomores the pre-ACT. And then juniors will take the ACT for the second time now. This year they took it about a month and a half ago. So the plan has always been, moving forward, that our juniors will get an ACT prep class as part of their schedule and take multiple ACT exams their junior year for a super score. So we're really excited about that. I want to thank again Jared and Becky and Jerry Kaiser for working the Dark Skies Festival. I had to miss that, unfortunately. It was my son's birthday, but I've gone to all of them in the past. We did have our virtual reality computers there, and people in the community were able to take a tour of the solar system, which is incredible if you've never done it. And they worked that event for us, got it set up, so I heard it went very well, and we're very thankful to the Dark Skies for always letting us participate. May 4th, coming up will be the grand opening of the McDowell Mountain Elementary School Library. So Todd Harris, who's our consultant, has been working on putting together a nice program for that. If you've not been to the new library, it is unbelievable. I can tell you that in the tours we've already done, it has been a huge factor in parents enrolling. They look at it and they're just like, this is such a great opportunity for our kids. In fact, with the upcoming solar eclipse, we're going to have a NASA live feed in the planetarium for kids who can't participate outside. They'll be able to watch it in the planetarium on the NASA feed. So that's coming up on May 4th, and that is open to the community. So anyone would like to come, please do. More information will be sent out in upcoming Falcon focuses. We also have our high school principal update. I just want to share with everyone. So we have went through our application pool. We have 3 finalists that will interview on Tuesday of next week. And I just want to share that we have a very robust group of people who will be part of the process of selecting our next principal. That includes district administration. It includes several parents. It includes several students and several staff, including teachers, coaches, and support staff. So it's a very rounded out group. About 15 or so people will be on the interview committee, and they will provide feedback, and then we'll make a final selection. Our hope is to have the person announced by the end of next week for the community, staff, and students to know who their new incoming principal will be. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you. Do you know what time the grand opening is going to be?
10 a.m.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Dr. J?
The eclipse, is that open to the public or just students, or how is that? 'Cause
That would be just for students because of the fact that it's going to be a pretty crazy day to begin with. I do want to thank PTO as well. They did purchase 1,100 pairs of solar glasses for our, I should have said that the first time, I'm sorry, PTO, we love you. But yes, they did order 1,100 pairs, so that's one for every student in the district, so we don't have any issues of running out.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, next up are governing board reports. We'll start with Dr. Okowski.
Okay, so I attended the National Junior Honor Society induction ceremony this morning, which is nice. I think 17 students were inducted, and they all seemed very excited, and nice thing. That's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Reed?
I was able to go to all the coffees this month. I made it, which again, thank you for having the Coffee with Kane online. That's always great. And one of the things I wanted to share about the coffee meetings that I've noticed, particularly this month more than ever, is how the communication happens. Like, and people are getting more comfortable with it being a discussion. I noticed at the Coffee with Kevin the other day, we had parents brainstorming, finding ways to volunteer and donate. A few of them had donated to the PBIS store because they heard that they were needing some extra things. And so I love that we do that, and that we have that opportunity for our families and for our parents to come in and have that conversation with our admin. That's wonderful. I also went to the procurement training, which I was able to go to the one last year that we had, but again, I found so much information, and Gary, right? Gary was very, very well-informed and versed on all of this stuff, and was just a huge resource of information on all of that. And so I really appreciated him and that training and for it being available to us. And then I volunteered in the PBIS store, which I'll be doing again tomorrow. And there's nothing better. Every time I have the opportunity to tell people to get involved, I tell them to get involved. I think people get a little sick of me telling them to come and volunteer at our schools, but I really believe that the secret to life is being involved with children. They keep you curious, they keep you active, they are so sweet, and it's really neat to see how many of them think of others when they're coming into the reward store to get something for their good behavior. And yeah, it just renews your faith in humanity. So,
Mrs. Ecker?
I also attended all the coffees this time, and it is fantastic to hear the parents come up with questions and answers and everything else, not just the principals talking. I did go to the junior National Honor Society this morning, which was fantastic. Not all 17 students were there, but the teacher in charge said that last year, trying to bring it all back, last year there had been 8 inducted, but 7 of them went to the high school. So the school year began with just 1. So this year will be great because there's quite a few of them. Let's see, I went to the procurement again. I figured refresh my memory, that's fine. I did get asked by the Spanish teacher at the middle school if I wanted to go on a field trip with them. So I did last week, and it was great because it was the Hispanic Cultural Center in Phoenix. So my grandkids were with me, so we all really enjoyed it. It was incredible. And then the next day at Fountain View Village, they had the Little Falcons come and sing. And I've been to all of them this year, and you really can see that the little kids were really feeling more comfortable. This time there weren't any parents that had to sit with them, so it's really great, and it's such a great addition for Fountain View Village. So I appreciate that continuing on.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate our spring sports. They're all doing really well. I was able to go to the boys baseball game last week because that's all my passion is boys baseball, and I miss watching them. So I was able to go to that, and they ended up beating Camp Verde, right? Was it Camp Verde, guys? They ended up beating him 15-0. So it was a great game to watch. Ty Langer hit, I think, back-to-back home runs each time he was up to bat, and so that was really exciting because I've known Ty since he was a little kid playing in Little League. So it was great to watch the kids and how much they've grown, and they all had great hits, and just really enjoyed watching that game. So. And then, other than that, my daughter got married last weekend, so that's been the highlight of my life this month. All right, moving on, we are going to hear from Stugo. Come on up, ladies. Please tell us your name and what position you hold.
My name is Olivia Malloy, and I'm the athletic coordinator.
My name's Emerson Uphoff, and I'm the secretary/treasurer.
Okay, so first off, we have prom. It's next weekend, April 13th. It's at the Scottsdale McDonald Marriott. The theme is casino nights, and so we have a lot of fun things. We have some card games there since it is casino themed. We have poker, poker, blackjack, roulette. There's no money. It's not gambling. They made us say that. But yeah, and we have some food this year because we usually don't have food. There's a taco bar, salad bar, some dessert items like that. So yeah, that's next weekend. And then also, I'm supposed to tell you about the senior gift. We donated $1,000 to the Fountain Hills High School art department so that they can get new materials and that kind of stuff.
And then along with prom, we also have our Falcon Promise that we're doing. This is our second year now with the coalition. And so Stugo partners with the coalition, for anybody that doesn't know, and they donate $10 per signature. So Stugo members go to each class, even if they're not going to prom, but it's just to have a healthy habit that they're writing up. And and so we get $10 per signature. And it's real nice. And if anybody wants to donate outside of the school, you can donate to fhcoalition.org. You can donate any amount. Any amount is very helpful for us, for other, we're seniors, but for other students and programs in the future. And then also, we also are planning, we're also planning Senior Sunset. We did Senior Sunrise at the beginning of the year, sunrise and now sunset. It's May 2nd, I believe. I'm trying to remember the time. I think it's 5:30 p.m. And we're going to have a giant blow-up obstacle course, and it's going to be really fun. And we're going to have pizza, and then later in the night, we're going to do a movie. We have a blow-up screen and everything, so we're going to pick a movie to watch. So yeah, I think that's all.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Stugo?
Great job, girls.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Have a very safe prom. I hope all of your classmates make good decisions. And you can both be excused to go do your homework, because I know you have a lot. All right, next up are the student activity and auxiliary accounts. You'll see that they look a little different, thanks to Mr. Rudolphi, and he's changed things up, and you'll notice that every time we get someone different in finance, that they kind of have a little different way of doing things, but essentially the numbers should still be the same. So are there any questions or comments regarding the activity and auxiliary accounts?
My only question is, with the clubs, with the beginning balance, is that an accumulation of all the fees that have been paid? Is that how they get their beginning balance?
Yeah, or carryover from the year before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, and some of them are, the clubs and athletics accounts are in really good shape. And that's one area of our finances that is strong. And I think some of that has been a dependency on the district to pay a lot of things. And we're going to be shifting into next year that they need to expend some of those accounts.
Yeah, because I remember in the policy, I believe clubs are supposed to be self-sustaining, so I was just curious if the district
They're
had
typically,
clubs that we
they're typically
are not
Yeah,
self-sustaining.
they're typically not.
There's
But
one.
again, we look at, just like athletics, you look at the value of what it brings to the kids and the climate of the campus. And so we feel very strong with, I've already met with Evelyn and Chris coming in that role about really using those accounts for expenditures for the next couple of years, because some of them are really high numbers, which is good. It's just, I think, for the last couple of years since COVID, a lot of the coaches have just come to the district for things, and it's time to start using those accounts again.
So does the district have a predetermined amount from the general fund that they
Yes, we give her a
will give to
budget.
clubs?
Well,
Or
we,
like what, how does that work? Because if they're meant to be self-sustaining, but then they're just not, do we
Yeah.
just make up what's missing, or?
we typically, we do have a budget for athletics. For clubs, I have not seen a budget for them because they've been self-sustaining, and since we're covering their costs to operate, it really should be on them to do fundraisers and bring that in. Now, again, I've done in the past as a principal here, like when the garden club wanted to start, we put in the fence for them and cleared that area that is the garden now, and help them get off to a good start. So we can certainly help if they request it, but one of the best places to go for that is like Golden Eagle Foundation. They do a lot of, Steph Beck does that every year. There's a lot of good stuff that they'll do. So we'll help them, but yeah, they really should be self-sustaining.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I just have a question. We've talked before about clubs that are no longer in existence, like the Stargazers, that I see that they
Yes.
now have a zero balance. But like EarthQuest, what is EarthQuest Club?
EarthQuest is the former 8th grade trip after Catalina they did for a few years, so that one needs to be closed out. That is something Chris Hartman and I have already discussed, that's going to be a priority over the summer. There's a process you go through to close an old account that no longer exists, and he will be working on that. And then my understanding has always been, but I want to verify, is that it goes to student government to decide where that money goes. And they already left, but their student government account is pretty massive right now too, so.
Well, but the EarthQuest would actually be a middle school club.
Yes.
So there is no student government.
There will be next year,
Okay.
yes.
So-
And
Alright.
I have a question. Are
Yep.
you done, Jill? or
Yeah,
not?
go ahead.
My question is, there's 3 different accounts. One says World Travel, another one Sister Cities, and another one Travel International. Why are
They're-
Sister Cities, I
Yeah,
understand.
I would, again, I have to research a little further, but my guess would be is that we've used different companies or different accounts based on the finance director's decision of where to put that money. So Luke has worked very closely with Alicia this year to ensure that all that money is where it's supposed to be and that their trips are going in the right direction. But again, it's just part of some of the cleanup that has been happening, and so it's much better. But there are some accounts that we do need to officially close down, like boys volleyball is another one. I started boys volleyball, we don't have a team,
Right.
and it's probably not gonna start up again, so we could close that and move that money somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
The next is the unaudited financial report, pages 32 and 33. We had asked about some negative numbers last time. There was an explanation given from Mr. Rudolphi and from Tyler. Are there any questions regarding this current report? Okay.
No, I
Hearing
really
none.
appreciate, I really appreciate all the explanations right there, so we don't have to have you stand up and try to find what the answers are. Thanks.
Next up are the state council minutes, pages 34 to 39. Are there any questions or comments?
I wanted to make a comment. I really appreciated the middle school doing a Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation focus agenda, and that kind of mirrors what I think that we should try to do here to kind of give Albert some parameters where he knows when he's needed so that we can make sure that we give a solid space. I thought that that was brilliant, and you can see throughout the minutes how that would be beneficial. I appreciate Kimberly doing that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, current enrollment numbers. Are there any questions or comments? Okay. Hearing none, we will move forward with public comments. Krista, do we have public comments?
Jill, do we need to vote on these?
No,
No?
these are just information reports.
No, the action items.
We're not there yet.
Oh, never mind. I didn't vote. Can't see straight. Forget it.
Thought you just had your eyes done. This is the time for the public to comment. Time limits may be allocated on public comment at the discretion of the board president for the board to efficiently complete its business. The board reserves the right to prohibit any comments made in a discourteous or threatening manner. Complaints about specific individuals, students, or personnel are discouraged. Personnel issues should be directed to the appropriate staff member or administrator per district policy. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. It's been the board's practice to allow 3 minutes, so we will stay with that. First up is Wendy Barnard.
You don't start my time until I start my comments, so I can say thank you so much, Ms. Reed and the board, and I will have my timer here as well. Okay, I was here at the last school board meeting to celebrate the achievements of the high school sports team. I am so lucky that my children are able to participate. I heard some of the discussion around the policy for extracurriculars, and I know it's on the agenda for the next meeting. I want to give a voice to parents like me, whose kids actually attend this school. First, I want to clarify, not all homeschool students fall under the same status. According to ADE, homeschooled students whose families collect ESA funding change their status to a private school student. Therefore, per Arizona Interscholastic Association bylaws, Article 15, these students are no longer eligible for participation in district athletics. The AIA does not make exceptions, and neither should this board. Not following these AIA guidelines will have serious and detrimental consequences to the district, including, and I quote, forfeiture or disqualification of athletic programs. Is the governing board willing to risk penalties for all of our athletic programs and our student athletes by creating a policy that's contrary to AIA guidelines? Importantly, how will the district ensure that students not enrolled adhere to the eligibility set forth in our athletic handbook? How are grades going to be monitored for academic eligibility? What about disciplinary issues? What happens if there's an injury? Is the district liable? These are all things I ask you to think about. Not allowing homeschool students to participate in our district programs is not denying them opportunities available elsewhere. There are many, many options available for homeschool students, including the EVAC Homeschool Sports Organization in Mesa and many clubs throughout the Valley. Based on data from 22-23 school year, families with the ESA vouchers had quite a bit of flexibility in where they spent their dollars. More than 100 passes to Arizona Snowball Ski Resort were purchased, $350,000 for trampoline parks and climbing gyms, and $1.2 million were spent on martial arts instruction. Research indicates that youth and extracurricular activities such as sports have higher academic achievement, they're less likely to engage in drugs and alcohol, they learn to manage their time, they gain confidence. No one's disputing those facts. Unfortunately, though, our district has had no choice but to drastically cut the athletic budget. Fundraising is now the norm for our district to simply cover the cost of equipment, uniform, and incidentals. The $200 fee per athlete barely touches the costs incurred for athletic programs. So it's state dollars for our enrolled students that are utilized to pay for the athletics director, coaches, field and gym maintenance, and transportation costs to athletic events. At the end of the day, parents make decisions for their kids. Decisions have consequences. I choose to enroll my kids here so that they can participate in sports, so that they can have lunch with their friends, they can watch sports. If I want my kids to have additional experiences beyond what the district provides, I have to pay for them on my own. So I ask you to consider the kids that go to our district and make your policy accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Renee Johnson.
Madam President, Board, Dr. J. Guess, just want, in reply to the previous woman, Wednesday, March 13th in the Arizona Republic, on the front cover of Section B, it says that the Mesa School District allows ESA students to participate in their sports. Also, I've sent you 2 articles from the Payson Roundup from July of 23 that say that Payson allows ESA homeschooled students to participate in their athletics and extracurriculars. I'm Renee Johnson, a parent and resident of Fountain Hills. We're asking the board to allow ESA home-educated students to participate in district activities and athletics. Hooray, it's on the agenda for future action. I wonder, though, how that district could benefit from education dollars from ESA home-educated students. Some might look at the numbers and say there are 120 kids in the 85268 zip code in the ESA program. 20 of them left our district for the program, so you could say, well, that's a lot of money that the district lost. Or you could say, that's 100 students we didn't have anyway. I wonder what would happen if 100 or 120 students decided to take a class or join a club here. Jake was invited repeatedly to join robotics club. He's not a robotics guy, but if he was, he'd pay a fee to participate. If the district says we're not going to have ESA home-educated students in our activities, what then? What option do these kids have? They can't go to another school district because the law says they can only participate in their local school. So if a kid can't join robotics club, they could take STEM classes offered at Fountain Hills Community Center. They accept ESA funds. Or they could drive to Scottsdale and enroll in classes offered by iCode, Code Ninja, ID Tech, Code Wizards. They all offer robotic and STEAM activities and accept ESA funds. For many activities in sports, there is something similar in the community. So the district loses out on potential income, and the student misses out on an opportunity to be on a team with their neighbors and friends and has to travel farther. And these are athletics and activities the district is already offering. So they don't have to start something new to get that income. Like the wrestling team, a kid who can't be a Falcon could join the jiu-jitsu gym and wrestle there. Play an instrument or learn a new language, same thing. There are other places that offer these classes to ESA students. There are other good reasons to allow home-educated ESA students to participate. Did you know that our district contacted an ESA home-educated student this fall and begged him to join the football team so that there'd be enough kids for a team, thinking maybe that was JV. We don't have enough students for boys volleyball. And you know that there's a home-educated kid who plays on the soccer team and takes some classes at the high school. He must be a non-voucher student. But how would it be different if that kid was an ESA home-educated student? What difference is there if the homeschooled kid accepts vouchers or doesn't receive vouchers?
15 seconds.
They both pay fees to receive services from the district. Why would the district turn away money from one but accept it from the other? Because we're isolated here in Fountain Hills, it's a challenge to get kids to a nearby town. The first choice would be to participate here. Our neighbors want to come to cross-country meets to cheer for Jake. Isolation also means that there won't be any students knocking on the door to get in here. No one wants to drive all the way out here to join our band or teams. Is there another group of students available that could provide this kind of boost to the district income for things that it's already doing? Who benefits from the exclusion of ESA home-educated students? I can't really think of anyone.
Your time is up.
Please consider it.
And I have sent out several emails asking for clarification from the AIA, the Department of Education, the Maricopa County School Superintendent, the Arizona School Superintendent, and other organizations. I'm waiting to hear back from them. They have not responded.
Just as a point of order though, aren't we able to make policy and make a decision on that anyway if we put it on our agenda? It looks like other schools have.
I would like to get clarification because we can't discuss it, but just like the enrollment rule for AIA, I want to make sure we're not doing a detriment to the kids that are enrolled here. So I would like to get clarification from those organizations. So it is on a future agenda. So that concludes our public comments. Next up is the personnel action. We're going into action items. Personnel action item on page 42. Are there any questions or comments regarding the personnel action? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we accept the personnel action.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the personnel action report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are the payroll vouchers on pages 43 to 45. Are there any questions or comments regarding the payroll vouchers? Okay, I move that we approve the payroll vouchers as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next up are the accounts payable vouchers, pages 46 to 58. Are there questions or comments regarding the payroll vouchers?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Can I get an updated total for the Orcutt Winslow payments? And then do we know if this is the last one or if there's more?
No, it was in there, it was in the file that was presented. We've paid out about $56,000 and there's like $3,500 that still needs paid.
Okay. And then we are moving away from WEX, correct? And moving back to Voyager, or?
That is what we have shared with John Flynn and our finance team, correct?
Okay.
Now, again, how quickly they can do that, we have to keep kids on the road and buses moving. So it's, I think we're looking at more for the future, but starting now, if possible, yes.
Okay, so, okay.
You'll probably still see some things because of the fact that, you know, the district never stops driving kids. So it's going to take a little time for us to move over.
And then, do we have a total for Sign Art as well as a total for Summit West signs? Can you update me on that?
Sign art has just been minor banners here or there.
Okay.
And they're, Krista can pull that for you, but we haven't
That, yes,
bought
the Summit
anything
West sign is
significant.
probably
Summit
one.
West, yes, those should be totaled out. So I think she already sent that though, months ago.
It might be in the
right?
folder. I've had a ton of issues, so honestly,
Yeah,
I
we
usually
sent
just
that
still ask my
probably at
questions.
least a month or so ago with the total. So if you haven't got it, just Krista
Well,
can
I'm
send it
just
again.
asking with this new 13,000 that's on this one, what's the updated total? And it might be in that folder, but like I said, I've had issues with that folder, so I asked my questions.
Yeah, send
here.
that to me and Krista and
Okay.
we'll get you that answer.
Or the 51,000, sorry, not 13. And then there's several for Beller Mechanic and a bunch of the air conditioning again where's that?
It's a combination of air conditioning and plumbing.
Okay.
So the ones, some of them you've seen are plumbing recently. So we had one off the top of my head is we had a pipe bust at McDowell Mountain and we didn't have to shut down school because of the location of it. But that was something that was a pretty major fix. We had just recently we had an issue with one of the cafeterias where we had a plumbing issue, so they had to come in and do that. So I can say that the plumbing one has been exhausted and shut down for the year unless there's a major emergency. All of our spending has been shut down as of last week unless it's a critical emergency situation.
These charges though, are these like maintenance and repair work?
Yes,
on
it's
both,
always-
like ones that need repaired again?
Correct.
Because I think that what we need to look at with the totals that I'm imagining in my head with this consistent work, yeah, and I know that there's the different pots of money, but, you know, and once the item is purchased, all of the maintenance and operations comes out of M&O, but we should try to allocate some of the capital to replacing some of these, because then all of this M&O would be freed up, essentially,
Well,
because
that
it would
was-
be consistently repaired for the same
Yeah, that was
issues.
the reasoning behind the bond in the first place. But with the capital money we have now, we've set a savings level that we're doing everything we can to stay within. So there are projects that will come up next year that we'll tackle with our new money come July 1st. We've cut the budget enough that we hope there will be some surplus to move into capital. But at this time, I want to make sure that we always have a very healthy capital savings account for any future major issues that are unforeseen. And right now, we do have that. So I've.
Is it on the plan to make some of these replacements instead of just the consistent repairs? Like, do we have, like, are we saying, oh, we're gonna
Yes.
tackle 2 air conditioning units this year?
Yes,
and-
the plan is, and Todd Harris is working on that with us in conjunction with some of the people he's been working with. But yes, there's only so much you can do each year, and when you, for the few you're gonna fix, the next year is gonna be additional ones and additional ones. So yes, that is a reality. I also think we need to have a discussion in the future about other ways that we can bring in more capital money. So that is something we will bring to you at a later time. Okay.
Are there any other questions regarding the accounts payable vouchers? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the payroll vouchers.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payable vouchers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Are you going to get to a point where you ever approve these?
I'm not gonna approve the ones that I didn't approve being spent beforehand, like the sign, like the Summit West signs, and ones like that where the spending I did not agree with and I think it was poorly done. Yeah, and Orcut ones, and things like that.
Okay. Next up are the donations. There are 5 donations that you've been presented backup for. Are there any questions regarding the donations? Okay, hearing none, I move that we approve the donations as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the organizational chart. You were given an addendum that showed the new organizational chart. Are there questions or comments regarding that?
I'm only gonna make a comment because this is similar to the accounts payable. I'm gonna be a no vote, and it's not because I don't have confidence in most of what's on there. I just really, I'm sorry, but I cannot have my name attached to the approval of the finance director being someone with no financial background. So I'll be a no vote, but it's not because I have questions or concerns about the rest of it. Thank you.
And I appreciate you taking into consideration what we mentioned and what teachers mentioned about putting a high school principal. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the organizational chart? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the new organizational chart.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
It's 3-1, Krista. Next up is the issuance of the administration contracts. Are there questions or comments? Now let me get back.
Yeah.
Page.
Are we ready for a motion
I was trying to get back to
Oh,
my
okay.
page.
I know,
had
I'm
to-
tracing.
I had to go to the organizational chart since it wasn't
Oh, yeah.
actually in the packet, so I had to change screens. Okay. Yep. Do I have a motion for that?
Yeah, I move we accept the issuance of the 2024 and 2025 administration contracts.
I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the high school supplemental reading book, Tuesdays with Maury. This was put on display and vetted by the literary committee. Are there any questions or comments regarding Tuesdays with Maury?
I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there a target student population? Is it, for honors English or what? Because I read the book and it's a very deep emotional book, and I'm not sure younger students are really going to get it.
I'm going to defer to Mr. Sunshine in the room. He is the captain of the literary committee, so.
For 10th
10th
grade?
grade.
Regular or honors?
14, 15?
For both.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, I motion that we approve Tuesdays with Maury for the high school supplemental reading book.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the update to authorized signers. Dr. J, I'm going to go to you because this
Yeah.
was not a first read.
Sure. Madam President, members of the board and guests, this is just an update with some of the changes we've had in staffing. So with Chris leaving and Alicia, so we're asking to approve the signers. Myself is already, I believe I've already been on there. Chris Hartman, Tammy Rigsby, just again, because of the fact of what they do with Craig doing amazing work. He's only here for a short while, and it is quite a process to go through that. So having additional signers and the fact that Chris Hartman moving into that position, he can start doing some of that work now and learning it. But ultimately, I sign if they don't have any other signers available.
This is for the rest of this year?
This
Correct.
is.
Because it's just reflecting Chris Alexander leaving, as we're updating our list for the rest of this year, correct?
Yeah, the
Okay,
change
correct.
of Alicia to.
Oh, yeah, Alicia. and-
Removing Alicia and removing Chris.
Okay.
Yes. And then you'll get a new authorized signers next year,
Next
like
year.
you did at the beginning of the year. But I will say, dealing with Chase Bank on all this, it is a lot of work to get someone removed and new people on. And I actually had to meet with them over the phone to walk me through it. It's super complicated. So we want to make sure we're in good shape and for the rest of this year. And then as we move into next year, it'll probably be the same people, but at least you'll have an understanding of that.
Are there questions or comments regarding the signers for the check signers? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the update to the authorized signers for the 2023-2024 school year.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are information discussion items. The first is the marching band for a PE credit. Dr. J?
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests. Every school I've worked at, this has come up, and rightly so. If you've ever been to a marching band practice or competition, the kids work really, really hard, and there's a lot of physical activity that goes with it. I've asked our distinguished band director, Jan Gardner, to come tonight to present why he would like us to move in that direction. I want to also share out that we have a lot of PE credits right now with the courses we offer, the advanced courses, and I don't see this being a huge hit to our PE department with all the additional courses we've added over the last year.
Good evening, board members and Dr. J. Before I get on to why I'm initially here, it was just coming to my mind that thinking about celebrations of the band, and that's why I've been here many other times. Back just before spring break, I took the kids to the Abota Concert Festival, which is the kind of like the First Step Area Festival is what we call it. And this is the first time since 1994 that we've had a group enter that event, and they did well. They received an excellent for their performance, so now we are eligible to go to the state festival, which will be at the end of April, on April 25th. So just wanted to report that that's what we are going to be doing there coming up. So I wanted to speak with you tonight to bring to the forefront kind of what Dr. J already said. So being here for a different purpose tonight, and this is in thinking about what I've been doing with this program since I got here. The purpose has been to rebuild, revive, bring more kids back to initially starting with the band program. So I'll be presenting some information and a proposal that will meet the needs of our students as well as rebuild, strengthen our middle school and high school programs. So reviving a program is not something that happens overnight. It takes a long time, sometimes years, to nurse a program back to health. The strategy in which I'm trying to work with should be intentional and have purpose in every step of the process. So there's a plan behind everything that I'm doing here. So in thinking about the fact we have students, 8th graders that are going to be moving on to high school, we do have quite often times where Students are torn between AP courses, because a lot of our band students are in those courses. They're preparing, for college, required courses for graduation, and other reasons that they come to school or the programs that they want to participate in. The band program, and specifically marching band, should be a positive element to our school community. And I know that the community has really enjoyed the last year to see the band in parades again in the community, band at the football games, and participating. So we're doing what we can from that angle, and I would just like to go one step further to try to alleviate some of the things that may keep kids from being able to participate in the band in high school as they leave their 8th grade year. So having another option to alleviate class conflicts and keeping students in the program is the goal of my proposal tonight. So I'm proposing that band students be offered the option to earn their physical education credit or substitute equivalent through participation in marching band to fulfill the requirement for graduation. So in sharing my rationale for this, and piggybacking on what Dr. J already said, more often than not, today's modern marching band, marching programs, marching arts display the rigor and physical demand that not only meets but many times exceeds the physical movement and healthy life skills which are expected from standards of physical education. So I have a quick 3-minute, and you can see it up there, video, and this is of the Star of Indiana Drum and Bugle Corps. And it's marching band, basically, without woodwinds. And Dr. Jeff Edwards from Indiana University went out to a practice, and they did basically an explanation of the athleticism that goes into the marching arts, and thus validating the physical demands of the activity as a musical sport. So I'd like to play that for you, just so you understand. This isn't just me coming up with this idea today. This has been going on, and as you can see, this is from 1993, and it still holds true, and probably more so now than it did back then. So this is announcer Kurt Gowdy, who used to do a lot of the sports commentary.
I know from years in sports that this sort of weather wears on an athlete. Well, how does it affect these kids? 19-year-old Dave Reeves of Star of Indiana helped us find out.
First of all, as you can see, we have to put on the harness that all the equipment hangs from. On that harness, we mount on the front a box that allows us to measure the amount of oxygen that he consumes. You can also see that underneath that harness, we put on a device for measuring the heart rate. On his face, he had a face mask that had a big snout on it, and that's what allows us to measure the total amount of air that he consumes. And we also pull a little sample off that runs with this box. So ultimately that all gets transmitted to a receiver where we now receive the total amount of air he breathes, the oxygen he consumes, and his heart rate, and the number of breaths per minute.
It didn't take long to see the physical demands placed on a corps member during a performance. By the middle of the routine, Dave's heartbeat was up to 150 beats per minute, more than double his resting heart rate of 62. By the end of the run-through, his heart was beating at 190 beats per minute, and he was breathing over 100 liters of oxygen per minute, 12 times his initial resting rate.
Those are the same type of numbers I would expect to see from very good athletes in the middle of a marathon. These kids are working very hard. Metabolically, they're doing the same type of work as a marathoner in one circumstance. And at the same time, you have to remember he's carrying a drum that weighs in excess of 50 pounds. He has to play the music, he has to stay in step. The number of things that they're dealing with while working at what we would consider as a very heavy workload is just astounding. Over the course of the performance, as you see the tempo rise and fall, your first impression is that a large part of that planning that goes into this is for aesthetics, and obviously it is. But it also becomes apparent after a while it's needed for metabolic reasons. These kids work so hard that they have to be breaks. So consequently, you saw the routine rise and fall, and you see his numbers match right along with it. After the observations that we made tonight, both with our equipment as well as just observing what goes on that field, it becomes more and more obvious that this is every bit as much an athletic event as it is a musical event.
So I hope you enjoyed that. It still holds true to this day, even from back when they did that. I know they've updated the video with a different core at some point, but information is still the same. So I did some searching, and I was looking around for other districts that are honoring the same type of thing. And I found Mesa Public Schools, Gilbert, Higley, Queen Creek, Maricopa, Chandler, Dysart, Casa Grande, Tempe Union, Agua Fria Union, Tulsa Union. And that was, I didn't even scour the rest of the state, but what I did was look at their course guides online and look to see what kind of credit they were potentially offering to the kids for marching band. So at this point, that finishes my presentation in concluding that I'm asking you if you would consider adopting this option for the band students to earn their PE credit through participation in marching band as we continue to build and maintain our program that meets the needs of our students and the school community. Thank you much.
Thank you. Are there questions?
Yeah, I have a question, sorry. So is there a marching band class and a regular band class, or is it all one?
They meet at separate times.
Okay,
Yes,
I
one
think that's good.
Yes.
I think this is awesome. My sister was in the marching band and played trumpet, and I could tell that it was an intense workout, and I love that it has a mind aspect to it as well. I think that that's really great. So I'm a fan of this, and thank you for all the work that you put into this.
My question is, will they be getting music credit and PE credit?
They will get their fine art credit, I believe, from their regular band class, and then my plan would be that they need to be in the marching band for 4 years to earn that credit. It's not like a one-time shot.
Okay.
So again, this helps sustain our numbers through their senior year to keep the numbers where we are able to field a group that, you know, is there for the school and for everybody who performing and like that. So.
How many PE credits do they need to graduate? Just one?
And that's a FHUSD thing, that's not a.
It's not a state requirement, it's an FHUSD board requirement. But I do want to reiterate that I don't see this being any conflict with our current PE courses or staffing. We have a lot of kids who want PE, and we will always have that. And with all the sports classes we're offering, and we're going to continue to even look for even more specialized electives next year, as kids are going to start running out of electives with the trimester. We knew this was going to come, so we've already talked to some of our teachers about a World War II course, or a Civil War course, or maybe a more specific PE course on top of the ones that we offer that's offered every other year for just 60 days. But I don't see it becoming an issue. I know that Mr. Salzman has had very large classes over the years, and he could use a little relief in those numbers. So everything we do is to make sure that all the programs are protected and that this does not affect another one in a negative way. And I do like, Jan, that you're saying it's a 4-year commitment to get that, because then if they do end up not doing it, they can still pick up a PE credit very easily their senior year if they had to. But I think that it shows that a 4-year commitment to this, instead of just your freshman year, you take marching band, and now your PE credit's done, you gotta do it for 4 years. And it's a nice touch.
I'm just going to interject a side note. If we're looking for more PE credits, maybe we should consider a martial arts class. It sounds like that would be beneficial.
Mr. Salzman. Can you teach that?
The question is, will the trust let you teach
That
that?
is the question.
So if a student takes this for 4 years and they get their PE credit at the end of the 4th year, what credits are they getting those other 3 years? Like, are they gonna get an elective credit? Like,
Well, no, this would just satisfy the one credit that's required, because right now the class meets at night, so it is.
oh, it meets at night,
it's a
okay, so
night
it's
course.
not, it's not even a daytime, so they're not giving up a class during the day to take marching band. So this is kind of like an extracurricular
Okay.
version of a class.
We made the band class this year with the time model that you all approved, where band, their evening practices met up for enough time to justify the 5-day
Right.
seat time.
So it really is a commitment from a student to
Right.
to meet
And their
at night
attendance.
and, right, yeah.
And that's, you're talking seat time and what we're calling our class, but all the performance weekend.
Sure.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I know there's a lot of time that goes into it.
Right.
I just wanted to know how that, if they were doing it during the day, no student wants to go to school and they're like, well, I took that class, but I didn't get a credit for it, and then, but that makes sense if they're taking it at night.
Because they get band credit over and over again, it's repeatable.
Right.
But they just don't get it. So the PE credit would just be added that senior year, and marching band ends in, well, you would know if they're on the team as early as the summer. So if a kid is not participating in marching band their senior, but they did the other 3, then the counselor would say, you need to take PE one of these terms here to get that knocked out.
Okay.
Got it.
And there could always be a student who's maybe not loaded down with AP stuff and can manage, hey, I can still have PE and still do marching band. And, can get their PE credit that way also. But this is more or less an option, so there are other ways for students who tend to have that conflict with scheduling of AP courses.
And if, in the case that there's a kid that either transfers or starts late, is there going to be a way to give them the full credit, even if they're, 3-year or 2-year?
Chances are 90% chance or higher that if they transfer in after their freshman year, they already have PE done. And it would be an
That's the
issue.
point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Thank
if they're
you.
coming from one of the places in which.
Then
There
we
you
would
go.
honor that.
They might already have that year under their belt.
Collection of their.
So that would be a decision administration would make on a case-by-case issue.
Perfect.
And just so you know, we've done this in the past with AP Capstone. Dr. Sweeney allowed for us, when he was superintendent, to waive the PE credit for AP Capstone students as one less class they had to take in that pursuit of additional tougher courses in the academic worlds that they were looking at. But what we've done with PE, though, is we've tried to create those tougher courses with these sports-specific courses, and they're tough. And I can tell you that the wrestling course, I went and visited several times. That is a nonstop getting after it for 70 minutes. So there's good things happening there, and I don't see this being a conflict within our school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation. All right, next up are purchase over $100,000 for Logicalis. Dr. J?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board, guests, I have some Logicalis team here today. You guys want to come on up? Let me just take everyone back a little bit. So we went for a school safety grant earlier this year, and we were awarded it. We were one of the few districts in the country that were awarded a $500,000 COPS grant, is what it's called. But part of that is that we also have to spend $250,000 of our own money over 3 years. So it's a 3-year commitment, and we're budgeting for that accordingly. So it's a $750,000 investment into school safety. And when we had this written, we hired an outside consultant, John Hendershey, to write that for us. And he got it, which was awesome. One of the things that John had met with us on is he had to be very specific in what we were asking for from the federal government here. And one of the things that John did put in there based on his expertise in writing these grants and conversations we had is that he put in Verkada cameras into the actual application. And he put in the amount that is, Krista has a copy that she can send you, but it's very close to this number here. And the idea behind that is that the ability of what the cameras can do with with the goal in mind is to have early detection of an intruder onto campus, early detection of a student leaving campus, and then also to be able to have access outside of the school. Right now, we can't access the cameras outside of being on our network on campus. So the idea behind this is I would have a notification when seniors sneak on campus to do a senior prank. I can come up and surprise them.
What fun are you?
No, but the idea is that we would have access, and NCSO would have access, and it just goes into that early detection. So with that, I'd ask them to come and present and review the quote that they have provided. So I'm going to turn it over to them.
Excellent. Let me just introduce myself real quick. My name is Robert Lundblade. I am your account executive with Lodge Callis. I've been with Lodge Callis for about 9 years. I've been serving school districts here in Arizona for over 18 years, providing technology solutions throughout the state of Arizona. So I come with a lot of experience, and I've been really assisting this district for probably 8 years. I would say we do a lot of paging upgrades for you folks, and so you know, my finger is kind of on the pulse of Fountain Hills and where you guys are at. And I was obviously interacted with Chris Alexander before. It was really, you know, congratulations to him and his move and what have you. But yeah, I mean, he'll definitely be missed. But definitely working with Dr. J and Chris. But I wanted to hand you this because I set this up, but you guys probably already have your own proposals, but this would be good reading material tonight if you want to go to sleep. There you go. Oh, sorry about that. So Lodge Callis has obviously been servicing Arizona for a number of years. We have state contracts we received in K-12 big time. And just on a personal note, just listening to some of the topics here tonight kind of touches me a little bit. My wife is an art teacher at Paradise Valley School District. She teaches at San Diego Elementary, the art class there. And so I see a lot of the interaction that goes with PV and just being involved with providing these solutions for schools for so many years. I mean, that's really the goal, right? I mean, it's all about the safety of the kids and also your staff members. So I'm not going to talk about too much more here, but I just want to give a little background on myself. And this is Nate Casera. He's going to go ahead and go through the Mercado. We also have Quinn Toohey here. Quinn's his backup. And Nate, you want to go ahead?
Yeah,
You're all set?
sure. Yeah, so for intros, my name is Nate Casera. I've been with Mercado for about 2 years now. I think you guys have received a presentation from Quinn, who was promoted after the fact of that presentation about 1.5 years ago. So for the sake of today, a lot's changed in the Mercado world over the past 1.5 years. We've released quite a few new products as well as updates, which will be one of the benefits we talked about here today. But whenever a new update gets released, it gets pushed out to you guys complimentary, free of charge. But for the sake of today, I just want to give you a high-level overview. So here's our suite of cloud-based solutions. Today we're talking specifically about the cameras itself. However, the district has expressed interest in the past in regards to door access control. So the ability to lock down your doors, gosh forbid, an emergency situation with a click of a button, as well as mitigating drug activity within bathrooms using our vape detection sensors. Our cameras do integrate with all these products, so keeping it on one single pane of glass will make it a lot easier for not only the IT folks as well as the administration. In terms of the challenges we face today, here's a list of quite a few challenges that Dr. J and team over the past couple of years have expressed with your guys' current system. I know Dr. J has explained a little bit of those a few minutes ago, but first being the poor image quality and zooming capabilities. Quite a few of these cameras, there's a total of 85 of them. Majority of them, I think about 98% of them being on the perimeter exterior of the buildings, don't have the adequate coverage as well as the zooming capabilities to be able to see parking lots, some of these blind spot areas, some of the construction you guys have done over the past couple of years. Low retention and storage. So your guys' current system today is what we call on-premise, right? So you guys require NVRs, DVRs, or a recorder for Verkada separates ourselves from that. We're hybrid cloud-based, so the footage is stored on the device itself, as well as the fact it's leveraging the cloud. Now, how is that beneficial, right? Dr. J just mentioned you guys currently have no access, no remote access. So, gosh forbid, emergency situation, the police department needs to be able to review that footage. They need to actually come on site, go to a local monitor or your guys' IDF closet, right? Not all the time is that feasible. So Verkada offers five-star rated, mobile app via Android and iOS to be able to view your cameras anywhere at any time. Now keep note that you guys can control who's access to not just all of your cameras, but one specific camera or even cameras. The proactive alerts that's on there and the incident resolution, that's another thing that Dr. J mentioned. So with your guys' current system, you guys aren't getting any alerts of any sort via email and or text. If a camera goes offline, right, so we see that quite a bit in school districts and the state of Arizona specifically, where an incident occurs, but we didn't know the camera was online, right? We don't have a full IT team to be able to be checking on those at all times. We have proactive alerts for offline notifications, as well as tampering notifications. So if someone spray paints the camera, they're AI intelligent, as well as a built-in accelerometer that I discussed. If someone were to hit it with a hammer, so all those notifications can be customizable for Dr. J and team. Not as scalable of a system for the cameras, access control, and date sensors. As we discussed, right, if you guys wanted to add, because some of these cameras are additions with new cables being pulled, cameras today, you guys would have to purchase additional infrastructure, whether that's NVRs, DVRs, recorders, or even servers, to be able to maintain those cameras, keep them online, but also have the adequate quality as well as the retention. Verkada doesn't require the need for NVRs, DVRs, or servers, as we are hybrid cloud-based, so it's much easier to add cameras over time. If you guys wanted to buy 40 cameras a year from now, it's as easy as just uploading an order number and having the devices populate the system. And then lastly, need better video sharing methods for emergency situations, right? We're kind of discussing how to access camera feeds in emergency situations, but how do we actually share it to local responders or the local police department, right? Verkada has a way to, with a click of a button, and I'll show you that here in a little bit, to be able to share all your camera feeds or even one specific site with local authorities so they can handle the situation in a timely manner without just cold going into the school.
And I want to add just a little bit here. Jared works really hard, right? Jared's got a lot to do, and maintaining the system. This system here is going to be a lot simpler in terms of maintenance and support. I mean, it's 24/7, 365. You guys lose a camera, you're getting another camera the next day as a replacement. So next business day for that, and the fact that your system is supported for 10 years, I think that should get Jared a long way into managing and maintaining it. So.
Great. So next, jumping into the total cost of ownership. So I know Quinn had touched on this. Not much has changed over the past couple of years, but customers love us for our features and functionalities that we kind of just highlighted on. But the main reason why we've seen the shift in the industry and why we're deployed within 140 schools and districts in Arizona is due to our total cost of ownership. So we kind of already discussed the no-hitting costs, right? We don't require on-premise infrastructure. So if your guys' MVR went out today, that's an unexpected cost that you guys need to be able to allocate accordingly. We make it feasible for you guys to budget and know exactly to the penny what you guys are paying for the next 10 years for 85 cameras.
And it gets better over time.
Correct.
Yeah. As they get the software updates and as it goes forward, your system will actually improve as Verkada is learning, and making their systems better. Those updates go directly to your system as well.
Yeah, we can touch on that here in a little bit, because a lot of updates, Dr. J actually hasn't even seen them all yet, but a lot of updates have been released, right? Those do get pushed out. That's the automatic firmware and software updates that are up there. So with your guys' current system today, it's been degrading since the day you bought it. Ours is similar to, if you guys have iPhones or Androids, right, where you get those updates, they're constantly getting better over time. The 10-year warranty on all the hardware, so the proposal includes the hardware as well as the software licenses. The software licenses we don't nickel and dime for, so everything on the screen is inclusive. And we do back it with an industry-leading 10-year warranty, which is about 5 years better than we've seen on the market. So that's why we're able to confidently say this is what you're paying in the next 10 years.
And I'll also add the fact that any cabling, any new cameras that we're putting in, any cabling that Logic Alice does for you folks, this comes with a 15-year warranty.
Here's a short list. As I mentioned, we're in 140 schools and districts now in the state of Arizona. I think when Quinn presented to you guys about a year and a half ago, we were in about 85 schools and districts in Arizona. Some local references include Cave Creek Unified School District, actually born and raised in Cave Creek, so went to that school district. Not too far from you. Another basis schools. And just quite a few in the local area, right? But as I had mentioned, the main reason why we're seeing the shift in the industry is because we're constantly innovating, but also releasing new products to make it easier for your outsourced IT or even your internal IT or administrators. This is a breakdown of the deployment, so we don't need to go camera by any means, but we have it separated by site. That's also how it's separated within the proposal. Of a total of 85 cameras, the majority of them being on the high school exterior. Any cameras that are slotted as an ND, that's going to be a new drop, so those will be cables that Logic Alice would be pulling to those locations. The CC is where you guys already have an existing camera today. As mentioned, Verkada has quite a few different camera models. We've walked the sites probably about 5-6 times over the past couple of years, and as we've released new products, we've been able to scope that out. We're able to pull up pixels per foot, right, to be able to get adequate coverage of exactly where people are going to be in certain situations, and parking lot being an example that we'll look at.
Plus, I was going to say, plus you have extended view on the high school side over there with those PTZ cameras.
Yeah, I was just going to share, that map has taken a long time to create. Like, we have walked it several times. And we've talked about with principals and our, just, I'm on this campus every day, so like I walk it frequently. And there are just areas that we really need good coverage. And I'll give you an example. Right in the bottom of that, you can kind of see the bus lane. If you go a little bit to the other way, sorry.
Your other right.
Yeah, other way, the other way. But there's some ND cameras, yeah, right there. Those face out into areas right now where we don't have fencing. Okay, and that's part of the safety grant too, is we're gonna be adding fencing on some of the areas that are open right now to the public. So the idea behind a lot of this was that these cameras will give early detection. And so the last time I played with one in person was in 2019 when we did our last camera update. And we had one in the front office. And for about a month, I was able to just draw like around the door. If anyone came through the door, I got a notification. If certain times of the day, there were so many factors that came in. And then when I came back a couple years later, we didn't end up buying those cameras. So that's kind of why we ended up with Panasonics here. But that, I just wanted you to get an idea that we did this at each site, and you can see it's really about building that perimeter and having good coverage in and outside of the campus so that everything is covered. And when you have a situation and you don't have the cameras, it makes it a lot harder to resolve. So I just want to share that.
And then just a thing to add, so what you'll see is there's different colors, of course, different models. So as Nate mentioned, we did pixels per foot. So Dr. J really wanted that people detection around the perimeter, so that's why we chose the different types of camera models. And then the other thing that's even more impactful is that we cannot just send like one camera, we can send all those 85 cameras all at once to look at in a matter of seconds if needed. So.
And the analytics are amazing. They really are, the analytics. I mean, if you have a person of interest, if you have a troubled individual, you're looking for a specific color of clothing, or you have a face identification, I mean, Verkada has its head and shoulders above the competition.
So one area that I really wanted to focus on is our parking lot, because our parking lot right now is zero coverage. Well, I wouldn't say zero. There's coverage, but it's off of the A building, the administration building, and it is very grainy, and it's not the whole thing. So we've had, unfortunately, issues of car accidents in the parking lot, or a kid did something to another car, and we can't prove it. We don't have any access to that. So one of the things I asked them to look into is how can we get coverage of that, if you want to share that.
Yeah, so I guess to give a little high-level overview, so you'll see one of the models on there called the CP52B. This wasn't a camera that we had manufactured back when Quinn had presented to you guys back in the day. The proposal has cut costs immensely due to the fact that the prior solution that we were recommending was to tap into the light poles and actually put cameras out there. That does require point-to-point connections to be brought back from the parking lot back to the administration building. Since then, we've released a new camera model I can see, and I'll show you how it looks here in a little bit, upwards of 1,000 feet. So now we're able to just cable those cameras to the building, but still be able to get the adequate coverage as well as the vehicle detection in the parking lots. Next being the middle school exterior, similar setup, right? We have several different camera models that are tailored to specific situations. Just for clarity, this camera that is in gray, it does do 180 mode as well as 360-degree mode, depending on the use case for it. So some of them you'll see in 180 mode, similar to this camera right here, or 360.
And just to clarify, you guys, it's been a while since you've been out, but that is now McDowell Mountain Elementary School, so you can get a feel for our elementary kids in that building right there. Yeah. That's just changed over the summer.
Yeah.
Changed over the summer.
Got it. And then lastly, the transportation and bus barn cameras. There's 3 interior cameras on there. So if you see it in the label, if it doesn't have an E on the end of it, then it's interior camera versus exterior. The exterior are IP67 rated, which is the highest level of essential weatherproof.
Yeah, so extreme heat and then of course also extreme cold.
And we do have very good camera coverage at Little Falcons, just so you know. It would be something we could look at in the future is to add additional exterior cameras there. But right now, the number of visitors that you get is very low. Buildings are locked at all times, and there is good coverage of that because it once was McDowell Mountain Elementary School. So there would be additional cameras hopefully coming in at phase 2 at Little Falcons.
The ones that are at Little Falcons right now were part of the 2019?
They are, and we have, I've used them multiple times. There's good coverage on them. It's a lot different when you have high school and middle school kids coming and going and lots of visitors and things like that. Little Falcons is a very unique situation, but we would look to add some of this technology in the future, but it's not in phase 1.
Perfect. And then won't go into too much detail here, but do want to show you the user interface itself. So keep in mind right now, we're here in Arizona. Our headquarters is just outside of San Francisco, California, San Mateo. However, we have satellite offices deployed worldwide, one being them just on Tempe Town Lake here in Arizona. But for the sake of the remote access capabilities, I do want to highlight up here in the top left, this is how you can go in the future from your cameras to your doors and so on. Looking specifically at the cameras, right, for Dr. J to have the remote access capabilities, we do have satellite offices internationally as well, one of them being London. So Dr. J would have the capabilities to jump from the middle school to the high school and so on. This is a live camera in our London office currently, and I could jump all the way back to our headquarters just outside of San Francisco. Now keep in mind, all those cameras are green. That means they're live, healthy, and recording. Right? So if these cameras were offline, or if they were tampered with, it would be the solid orange, and Dr. J would do that program notification. This is a live camera feed. This is actually at our headquarters right now. This is one of the cameras that we will be deploying across the project. In terms of incident resolution, one thing that quite a few schools come back to us saying is, hey, with an on-premise solution, it can take hours or even days to find footage of something happened at 2 a.m. last night. You have to physically sit there and hit fast forward and rewind. With Verkada's solution, not only can you draw a box over the door similar to Dr. J had mentioned, but to go through 24 hours worth of footage, you simply take your mouse from the right to the left. So you can see down here below these blue ticks detect motion. So we know nothing occurred between 5:40 in the morning yesterday to 2:50 in the morning, as people are highlighted in green and vehicles are highlighted in orange.
Interesting.
The people notifications, that is what Dr. J had mentioned as well. Once again, this is all inclusive. Dr. J, since we had last spoke, the people detection has also been raised from 75 feet now to 100 feet. Once again, that was pushed out to all of our customers free of charge. You can filter by upper body, lower body, faces, right? If you guys have any local individuals that have committed theft, you can add their mugshot, LinkedIn profile, whatever it may be, to be able to get those. those notifications. You can also filter for like wearing a backpack, so you guys are able to find footage in a quicker and more easy.
The other aspect of this that's very beneficial, you can do this all from your mobile app as well. So we have a 5-star mobile app, and you can do all the same features from the palm of your hand.
And what we're looking to do regardless is have security with iPads walking around with the cameras on them. So as an incident comes up, it populates on the iPad. They know exactly building K, this area. They can, as they're walking there, see what's happening, call it in. Somebody else is closer. But it just gives you those precious moments of time that you just don't have. And I will say that I've had to do a couple of investigations myself in the last 2 years with the cameras, and I'm literally fast forwarding and rewinding. It takes hours and hours of time to do right now.
Yeah, and then one other thing that I had in my previous slide, but with your guys' current system today, you guys can't save an indefinite amount of clips, right? You guys have your current server, it only has so much storage, right? That's an unexpected cost. You guys need to purchase additional servers. Once again, Verkada does not require servers because we are hybrid cloud-based. This is our archive section, so you can see we almost have 2,700 saved clips within our organization. As long as you save the clip within 30 days, it lasts indefinitely. And you can control who has access to these saved clips. But just want to highlight, once again, you can save an indefinite amount of clips, and it doesn't come at an additional cost.
In addition, as far as privacy, what schools love is with one click, you can also blur all faces within the same clip as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so if Dr. J ever needs to share a specific clip with a parent, right, and it requires an additional individual, he's not technically authorized to show that clip unless the other parent is in the room. Verkada has a blurring faces software, so you can blur out, all the faces of the individual. One last thing, when we're talking about the camera, just to show you, because I do know that the parking lot is a big priority for the school district. Just to give you kind of an idea of what that camera footage looks like, this is one of our new cameras that we have released that offers the ability to zoom in upwards of 1,000. So it's detecting that individual, and this camera physically pan, tilt, zoom. So imagine the camera on the building looking out at the parking lot, and there will be multiple of these to where it'll actually follow, if you guys put this in this mode, a person or a vehicle, so you guys don't lose that footage.
Interesting.
Wow.
And then lastly, the ability to share footage, right? As we had mentioned, gosh forbid an emergency situation, we need to share whether you guys have it slotted as middle school, to high school, elementary school, right? With a click of a button, you can simply go here, click share site. You control who has access to your guys' camera feeds, and you can always revoke the link in the more options section. But you pop in a phone number, an email, or a contact, and it'll send a link within 2 seconds to where they click on that link and it pulls up all of those camera feeds. But I'll pause there for any questions.
Are there questions from the board?
Hey, everybody. I'm sure you guys are familiar with school districts because you guys you represent a lot. What ramifications are there with privacy and the fact that you're capturing a lot of students? I mean, and the fact that it's on a cloud, is there concerns about that, or what protections are there for parents and stuff to have confidence that none of this will end up anywhere?
Yes, great question. So all the data, all the footage is your guys'. It's none of ours. As far as encryption, so our cameras are encrypted at AS128 at rest, and then AS256 to the cloud. So layman's terms, that's government encryption. And then as far as the other part of that too is taking out the MVR and DVR from the traditional architecture provides huge vulnerabilities as far as cybersecurity as well as that data. So we've completely eliminated that out of our architecture.
Yeah, I think it's actually safer because if someone lost their laptop with a no password on it, which is really hard to do nowadays, but let's just say they did, that software footage is on there and you can access it. Now you'd have to be on our campus, so it's still tough, but school districts are expected to have cameras and expected to monitor students. I don't see it being an issue. Again, we use them just to solve problems and to be preventative in our supervision.
You'd have more difficulty finding a school district
And that's one of the kickers too, right, is like if anything were to occur, right, not only do you have to go to your current IDF closet to find that footage, but if an individual simply walked into your guys' IDF closet today and spilled orange juice on your NVR, you guys no longer have any access to that footage. So once again, leveraging Amazon Web Services, I'm sure you're familiar, all banks and government and federal institutions utilize Amazon Web Services for their storage capabilities.
I don't trust them either.
Well, Chris and I reached out to different clients of theirs for feedback, like we did with Fruth. I spoke to one superintendent in particular off that list, and they were very pleased with the cameras and the ability that they offered. Chris Alexander, I know, also reached out to several as well before making the recommendation. So, and like I said, our grant writer also included specifically that. So it doesn't mean you have to do that, but I think that's what we were awarded on was the fact that this kind of technology would be in our schools. To not put that kind of technology in, I think, would be a concern when we go for to be reimbursed for some of these things if we didn't do what we said we were going to do.
And then lastly, I just want to congratulate you guys on receiving that award. I understand only 6 school districts in the state of Arizona did receive it. We actually work alongside 4 of the 5 other ones, so 4 out of 5 school districts, all of the ones that received the full amount of $500,000 have utilized that funding already to proceed.
And then how would it work? Who would we give access to? And the sending a link is a little interesting to me because that's another reason that we would need an added level of just whoever we give this to is.
It's just like student records, the same thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, everything's online. When we first went to online grades and online demographics, people were concerned, can this get hacked? Can these things happen? So no, right? It would be principals and deans would have access to their sites. At the high school, they would have access to both sites, obviously high school and middle school.
And security?
Security would have access. So all of our schools have a room with 4, I think they're 55-inch TVs, all like a video wall. And they display the cameras all day. So one's in Val Reichler's office, one is in the counseling office at the elementary school, and the high school has it in the security office. So when there is an issue, they have multiple screens to look at footage, and then they can isolate and go from there. So I would have access, Chris Hartman would have access in case I wasn't there. Our resource officer would have access, Larry Kratzer and CSO would have access. Fire department would probably have access. But again, these would be very specific groups that we work with to just ensure safety.
And then we also don't pay by user, right? So as
We
Dr.
can have
King-
as many.
as you guys need in order to have a working organization.
So to answer your question, it'd be very unethical for someone to take a piece of footage and put it out there. They could do that now with the current system if they wanted to. So again, that is something that would be a
They'd have to sit and fast forward and rewind.
Well, they will. So we might catch them before they do it.
Yeah. They'd have to put a lot of work into it, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
So yeah, you can see right there, it says that we have 2,500 employees at Mercado now, which is double of what we had prior to Quinn being on site. But you can see we have several groups, so you guys can customize that at your own expense to where you can see, like, to give an example, we have an ISC West 2024, that's a massive security conference next week that we're at. Only 21 individuals have access to the cameras that we're going to be deploying, myself not being one of them, to be able to view that footage. So you guys can create that at the district level to who has access to what cameras. If an individual or employee were to leave the district, you guys can terminate them.
And let me ask you this for peace of mind. Would we have ability to see if anyone is accessing the cameras outside of, like, let's say they were accessing them at night, and would we be able to know that and be able to get ahead of it?
Great question. Yeah, so since last presentation, Dr. Kane, we actually came out with a new feature. So similar if y'all have ever been on like Google Sheets or all the Google suites, you can actually see like who's accessing that document. So you can see, for instance, right, Nakasira's up here, and then the viewing station, right? So if we had 8 users on this, it would show all 8 users, and then you can quickly go in here, and then you can revoke access if it wasn't just Nate in a matter of seconds. We also have an audit log where it will show, if you want to go to audit log, but it shows exactly who's accessing it, what they accessed, what they changed, what time, what days.
So that gives you some oversight there, and that's something that we could have Mr. Hartman, because he's going to have a lot of free time here. He could be though, but part of his job could be that on a monthly basis. We do this with Beyond Textbooks. I get a thing from Beyond Textbooks every month of which teachers went and used it. Teachers in the room probably don't know I get that. I don't go bother them with that. But I know who's doing it. But see, like someone like Jamie has it memorized, so he doesn't need to access it anymore. But that's good oversight, right? That's very good oversight that we can see. And if we have an employee who's researching or using the cameras in times it doesn't make sense, we can get ahead of that, revoke their access, report them to police and things like that.
And then with access to apps, is it something that an admin would have to log in every single time to gain access so that it's not just sitting on their phone?
Yeah, great question.
Okay.
So a couple different options. So we actually just came out with the ability as like a second layer of security where you can actually use face. So
Like the face scan?
So you use face, there's multi-factor authentication, single sign-on. So that's why I said that.
You can do that on the command as well. Like for me to get into the system, I have to go through a single sign-on as well. So you can utilize that too. But this is the audit log that we were discussing, so you can set it up to like export to Dr. J weekly to see who's been accessing the cameras. Those links that I talked about, there's a list of all the links that have been sent, which ones are active, which ones have been terminated.
Great.
So you're able to do those.
And the system, does it auto log people out if they left it on? If they leave it logged in, or will it?
So I believe, so you can change that. So you can change it, I think.
Is there a timer on?
There is, yeah. I think, I forget what the auto set is, but I think it's either 2 or 3 days or a week, but you can change it different.
Okay.
Yeah, by organization.
That's also integrated with that single sign-on we talked about, so it depends also on your single sign-on or your computer.
Does like each user set that, or could the district?
We can set that, and Jared can also, like, he can remotely shut down your
Like log
computer
people off
and log you off. So there is some precautions that are there. And that's one of the things I like, because right now, I don't know who's looking at the cameras, when they're looking at them. This gives us a lot of oversight, and it's something that, again, part of our safety meetings we have, we can review the data and just see, like, who's on there, and, if we see something odd, question, why were you on at 9 o'clock at night? What were you looking for? Why wasn't that reported to us or police or something like that? But the idea of the security guards walking around with iPads, with the cameras on them, and be able to get notifications that there's an issue is a major step forward for security for us.
Are the iPads something that are included, or is that
No,
something
I'd
that we
have to
do?
buy
Okay.
them. Yes.
Random
Yes, and
question.
the application is free of charge.
Okay.
But in terms of like providing an iPad,
Okay.
they're not included in that proposal.
Okay.
But you guys can utilize any Apple or Android device.
Okay.
The last thing I wanted to add on the user side and permissions, so you guys can control, we have several different permissions internally within the org. One of them being an access admin, so that would be someone like Dr. J, where he can go back historically on footage, he can add users to the system, he can share links, he can save clips. We also have an access viewer. That's somebody that would be able to go back historically, but they can't make any settings adjustments. And then
Okay.
lastly, we have a live-only viewer, where they can't go back at all on historical clips. They can only just view the cameras in real time.
Okay, that's
So if
great.
you
There's
wanted,
no access at all, it's the last one.
yeah, that's it. So if you guys want it, right, like for your
You can
viewing
kinda tier it.
stations, you guys could put those as just live only. And also, on a side note, we can now blur faces in real time. It wasn't something we could do prior. So on those viewing stations, if you didn't want faces of individuals on those.
I'll just share, we recently were going to have to do that. We were going to have to send it out to a professional company to do, because we didn't have the technology to do that here, or anyone that could. So that is, and we are getting more requests than we've ever had to when we are doing a discipline issue, I'd like to see the footage. And I don't blame them, I would too, as a parent, I'd like to see it. It is nice to be able to do that a little bit more in a time frame that parents and the community can respect, because sometimes you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks to get that back, that can be difficult. So, so thank you guys. I don't know if you guys have any other questions.
I have
but
one, just one more, sorry. With the AI intelligent notifications, is there a way to kind of set times that we feel that we need that, or kind of cater it, you know, so that it's just not picking
Yeah.
up people all the time and sending notifications to our
Yeah,
our
100%. So a
admin?
couple things on that. All of everything you're seeing on here, right? People analytics, facial recognition, vehicles. You guys can control that on a per camera basis or even across the district. Similar to audio capabilities, if you want to disable audio on all these cameras, you're able to do so, but you can also customize it, right? So maybe you guys want the vehicle detection for just the parking lot, but not the other cameras for facial recognition. You guys are able to customize that within the settings, and then also manage the alerts. So if you guys just want to be notified between 8 to 3 p.m., you're able to do so.
Or after.
And I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of where that would come into play. So I've been in a situation in the past, in my career, where we were told this individual cannot be on the campus, and they give you a picture. The goal here would then be, we could then be able to upload that, right, or set that to, if that person or some similar came onto campus, or with that description, we would get notification. That's one. Second, we've also had missing students. We can't find them, right? It happens from time to time where a kid runs out and the teacher says, you know, they ran out and they were supposed to be right back. And now it's like, well, what were they wearing? They were wearing a red jacket and they had a backpack on. The hope is that the camera system might be able to help find some, and this is all legitimate, right? I'm not just making this
So
up.
that's what you're seeing right there on the
Yeah.
screen. So you see people of interest. These are ones that someone internally physically added these people as people of interest to get those notifications. Now you can still control who has those notifications and how to get those notifications, and also when they get those notifications. But you can see some of these pictures, right? Like this looks like a LinkedIn profile to me, whereas the majority of these are actually pictures of the camera detecting that face. So if Dr. J received a mugshot, he can go in here, he can upload the face, add him as a person of interest, and get those notifications.
Okay. And then I just have questions for our side. How much did we spend on our cameras in 2019? Do we have a total for that?
I think it was around, I'm just guessing here, but 200 and something. But those cameras before that were even farther behind. So those were an upgrade, there's no doubt. Like the quality, like I said, when you go to Little Falcons and you pull up the cameras, the quality is very strong, okay? It's fine. It's when you have to find an incident that is challenging, number one. And then number two, there's still a lot of areas that you don't have great coverage in. For example, when we opened the middle school this summer, there were no cameras in F&G, so we had to add those, and I believe you guys came in and did that for us in a very short period of time, because it was something that we kind of were like, oh, why aren't there cameras? There should have been. This used to be the high school game, but there weren't, and so they were able to come in, and we added like 3 or 4 in each hallway. And again, we can integrate somewhat the cameras into a system that that a security guard can manage and use, correct?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so a couple things on that. So once again, we are secure end-to-end, so we do value security upon else. You guys can bring these camera feeds onto your current system today. We will not be putting no facial recognition, vehicle recognition, any of our software onto your guys' existing Panasonic cameras, due to the fact that we are, once again, proprietary.
But they will work on the same window of cameras.
Okay, I was gonna say, is there anything that we've
No,
implemented that is
but we
useful?
checked on that prior, and that's why I just wanted to make sure. So the old cameras and the new cameras will work for viewing and for certain things. Some of those older cameras may not be able to do these tricks that these ones can do, but we'll still be able to access those cameras in the same viewing software and see them, correct?
Will the footage from those cameras be on the cloud and all of the same capabilities be applied to those?
No, they would be
or-
on our own servers.
So it'll still go to those servers?
Correct, but the idea is each year to maybe replace 20, 30 cameras with ones like these and slowly knock out those ones. And maybe the ones that are rarely used, we can leave those be because they're not used very often, but there's still coverage there if we need it.
Right, we would also be able to probably reutilize a lot of the cabling, the existing cabling of the old cameras, so it would be just like a swap out, pull the old camera.
I think it's 5E is what's in most of them.
Yeah, and that would be fine. We
Yeah.
just use we put in a new camera and then we integrate it into their system.
Yeah, Mercato's PoE power over Ethernet, so Cat 5 cable similar to your phones. Yeah.
Okay. And then this would be, we would use capital funds for this, correct?
Yes, it would be either, we have a few different accounts that we can work through, so Tyler's looking at what's the best. But capital is probably the most obvious of them. So we would, since we'd be trying to get this done over the summer, it would be a cost that we would take out of our current funds, but would be replenished with next year's money. So there'd be a month or two where we've spent the money to get these in, but we're really trying to budget these cameras into next year's budget so that I can keep that savings. There's a number I try not to go below.
And we have to spend the $250 over 3 years. How much of that are we meeting with, like how much of this are we going to be
It'd be
responsible
about
for?
100, what did we say, 75,000? Thanks. 25% of.
Okay,
So
so
out of-
25% of this
Out of the
total.
360,000,
360.
we would pay 25%.
Yeah.
And then all the cameras have an industry maintained warranty on that too, right? So if anyone break, I'd say are there and all that.
So we have the money put away for this project, okay? And again, it's just, the finance staff knows how serious I am about this, keeping a number. So we may have to go below that number for a month or two until we get replenished with new capital funding. But we definitely have a savings account for a rainy day.
The grant that we qualified for, is there an expiration? Like, do we have to start
3
this?
years. No, we don't have to start right away. We have
We have
time.
3 years to start the work.
Correct.
Okay.
And just so you're aware, just based on the timeline of this project, if say, for example, we got a purchase order this month in April, we're probably looking at 3, possibly 4 weeks lead time on getting all the equipment and gear, so you got a little time there. What I'm getting to though is, being that the project would be started, June or possibly even July, you're not going to see an invoice until July, at the earliest, you're going to see it in July. You're not going to see it before July, so we would go into your next fiscal.
So we want to get it done over the summer, so in August, we're not having construction again like this August.
But the longer you wait, the harder it is.
I know, we're that's why they're here tonight, we're working it.
Last question,
Yeah.
do we have a number of incidents or like an average number of incidents that we would require this kind of coverage for that we experience on a year-to-year basis?
I would say
unaware of this.
every issue that a high school principal deals with, which is typically, I'd say at least weekly something, they go to the cameras for. This is going to speed up things tremendously. And remember, the resources. When I had Jared look at something early in this year, it took him 3 days to look over a week's worth of footage to find what we were looking for. That's 3 days. I don't have an IT guy doing IT work. So again, you got to factor in that the speed of some of these things factors into your overall, workload that people have too. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice seeing you guys. Thank you.
Oops, sorry about that.
No
Good to
worries.
meet you. Good to meet you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks, have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. Next up is my little sound thing came on. Next up is the March 2025 student trip to Japan. Mr. Peterson, Mr. Salzman, Mr. Sunshine, come on up. Don't be shy, come on. You guys are worse than Stuco. Those girls were excited to get up here. I'm gonna drag you up here. Hi.
Hi.
Tell us about your trip.
Our trip was awesome. We just got back from England and Scotland, and it was unbelievable. It was really educational the whole time. I learned so much. We had no problems with the kids. It was like a perfect trip.
Did all three of you go?
Yeah. And we're proposing to, at the same time next year, during spring break, we had a lot of interest in the last, actually 5 years, to go to Japan. So we had the trip planned for Japan right before COVID, and that fell through. So we kind of shelved that for the last few years. And we've just been talking to kids, and they're really excited about it. And here's a little flyer. Fancy, you guys want to just take a look at that.
Would it be the same grade levels like what you did with the last trip?
Yep, it would be the same grade levels, 8th grade through 12, right during spring break. It worked out great.
Did you have any 8th graders go with you this past time? You did?
We had 2. Yep,
And how'd that work out?
really good.
Because you know how I feel about that, right?
That's why we said 8th grade only.
I know, I really prefer it be high school only, but the 8th graders are at least, you know, almost to high school, so. And when you take 8th graders, like, are they housed together? How does that work? I just worry about the younger kids being with the older kids, and you know, my kids have been on these trips, so I totally agree with you. I love these trips. I think it's a great opportunity for kids to travel, because I'm not an overseas person, so it was an opportunity that my kids got to go on, and, you know, Hunter still talks about it, how he wants to go back, so if you ever need a chaperone, he probably would go. But nonetheless, how do you group the kids together? Like, is it by age? Like,
Yeah,
how's
it
it?
actually worked out perfectly with the age groups. It was like, you know, 3 or 4 senior girls, 3 or 4 junior boys, you know, 4 freshman boys. You know, it just worked out perfectly for the rooms, so we had no trouble with that.
Okay.
Throw the 8th grader into the freshman.
Yeah.
And between all of us, we watched the 8th graders very carefully. Like, Max was by my side until he just pitched it.
All right, are there
You
questions?
can see their confidence really go.
Yeah.
You watch it.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that when you're in 8th grade, you have to be a pretty bold student to like run off to another country with a group of people without your parents. So it's certainly not for the faint at heart. Wouldn't be for me, even at my age, no thanks. Are there other questions?
Yeah, my question is, why Japan? Just because people wanted it?
I think it's one of those trips that, without like a planned trip like this, it's kind of a hard thing to do on your own, especially like families. It's tough. It's not a common place to go to. And these trips are really well laid out. Everything's laid out for you. Like, you don't have to, okay, how are we going to get from here to here? We have a tour guide the whole time, 24/7. So it's actually, it's really comfortable.
I know I've traveled with them.
And you know,
Yeah.
Japan is kind of chic right now with kids. So there's a lot of influence from over there. And a few years ago it was even more. And now we're kind of looking for, they're looking to get to that direction.
So can the board members go too?
Yes.
You have to chaperone.
We think it'll work.
I've been there before.
It's a lot of walking.
You had, what, about 30 students this year?
We had 23 students, 3 parents that went along, and then 4 chaperones.
Wow, that's great.
And is it the same, is Miss Nguyen going again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you have to twist her arm.
Yeah.
She's the official female chaperone.
Right.
My only comment on this was I love that you guys take advantage of doing this both for our students and honestly for yourselves. Like the fact that it's a way to do an amazing trip and provide an educational opportunity. You know, I mean, people a lot of times look at a teaching career as very limited. Look at what you guys are doing. I think this is awesome. Keep doing it, like giving these opportunities to our students and taking advantage of them yourselves. I think that's awesome. Thank you.
Is it ever open for other teachers to go?
Yeah.
It's over spring break, so really anyone can go.
No, I'm just
as
saying,
long-
since you're the ones that are always planning it, do you have other teachers that are interested? Like, let's say the Spanish teachers would decide to do a Spanish trip.
You just have to go through this.
It's a lot of work.
These
I
three
know,
have been
I
doing
know.
this for years, so.
I know, trust me, I've taken students several times.
Yeah.
And then I also went on trips with just adults, which when you retire,
So the only thing I'm going to nitpick is, it was Dr. W. who signed this. I'm assuming the high school principal is on board as well, because it's really, it's a high school trip, not a middle school trip.
That was at the time where we
In
thought
transition,
something
yeah.
really had-
Oh, no.
Well, you should never assume before the board makes a decision. You should know that, Luke.
I'm confident Mr. Harmon will sign that.
I don't know. No, I appreciate all you guys do, so that's really great. Are there any other questions regarding the Japan trip? Okay, hearing none, just stay here. We'll move on to the Sister Cities trip to Poland, which is just, is it all three of you? Just the two of you? You may be excused, Sonia.
You didn't want to go to Poland?
You know, just for the England thing, Jamie, he's not Shakespeare's home. We were beaming.
I was beaming at Stonehenge because I wanted to go since I was like a little kid.
That's
So
amazing.
we got to go Stonehenge, so
Mm-hmm.
that was good.
The Shakespeare thing, you're pretty excited.
You guys did force me to try every room that you, so, yeah.
You go, we dragged you out.
The truth comes out. They'll throw you under the bus in a minute.
And then drive over and back over and then drive over.
You should know that.
We had to employ one of those cameras. So you guys-
That's what I put me on stage instead of having to perform. I did.
We might have to get you, do you guys do body cams? Maybe we need body cams to send with them, so could you look into that? No, I do appreciate that all of you take the students. Like I said, it's a great opportunity, and there's a lot of students that wouldn't get to do this if it weren't for you putting in all the work, so. All right, now let's hear about Poland.
All right, so right now we're doing German exchange. We had a really successful, we had 13 or 14, 13 Germans come here in October. It was really fun. The parents of the hosts really were excited about it. We did a lot of cool things with them. A lot of friendships were formed. Now in June, we're going to go to Germany. Poland has been really excited and really antsy to come again. Great group of people. Their mayor just came to Fountain Hills, I think a month or two ago. And, you know, they want to do another exchange next year. So it's a really cool town, Zamość. I've been there once. And just a neat experience.
This is a different program than what you see in
Right.
Right.
This is affiliated with Sister Cities, and there's 3 or 4 members who are they're involved, and they help facilitate this whole process. This is a big moving system here. One is from Poland and one is from Germany, and they're both big components of getting this moving forward and continuing. This year coming up is our turn to host, and then we will go there. Is that right? They come in October.
No, they come in October.
Yeah, the Polish citizens will come here, and they'll stay with our students. And then come June of 25, we then do the exchange.
Okay.
But again, it's a different program.
Right, it's not the EF tours, so. How many German students came this time?
13.
13.
Yep.
And then, and what?
3 adults.
3 adults. And are the adults staying with host families as well?
I hosted
Yep, I hosted one too.
Thank you. That was really nice of you.
Yeah.
And then how many students are going back to Germany with you?
12.
Okay.
One couldn't make it.
Okay. And then on your dates, you have June 1st to the 14th, but then it says to be determined. Are those dates solidified or are they not solidified?
Yeah, just buy a plane ticket.
Okay.
You know, anything right after, right around there.
Okay, just as in the past, once you solidify the dates, if you can just update the board so we know the exact dates that you'll be gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this one is more on us to determine. I get the airline ticket.
Right.
We're EF, it's them.
Right.
Yeah,
Process it.
yeah.
But they're still in school in Germany and in Poland, so we go to school every day. It's pretty cool.
That's really neat.
That's awesome.
Where do you get to stay when you go? At people's houses too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
some homemade kolaczkis.
Are there other questions regarding the Poland trip?
No, but I am going to say, I took students and it's just incredible. It opens up everybody's minds when they go abroad. You know, we're used to things in the States, and you go somewhere else and you realize how old things are and what was there and all the history, everything. It's just, and I know the way these tours are done, they're teaching you things and you don't even think that you're learning because it's just everything you're hearing. It's incredible.
Great. All right, it'll be on the next agenda, so,
All right,
thank you.
Thank you
guys.
all for all you do.
Okay, next up is the Little Falcons preschool 24-25 pricing. Come on up, Ms. Gleason.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I'm here to propose a few price changes for Little Falcons preschool. We currently have a morning session. So currently our early birds, our Club Falcon in the morning is from 7 to 8:30. We're asking to keep the hours the same, but change the fee to $10. And the afternoon session, we're asking to reduce the Club Falcon 1 hour less. We weren't finding that kids were staying until 6 o'clock. So end at 5, so it'll be an hour and a half after school to have the same rate at $10. Hours of operation for the school day would stay the same, but we would like to increase the morning and full day price to $25 more. And then but reduce the afternoon session and just by $33. And the reason for that is students that come in the morning session get a preschool, like morning meeting, the centers, they get specials, they have lots of different events coming in, and that's when field trips take place. Students that only attend our afternoon preschool is 4 days a week, and they do not receive specials, and it becomes more of an enrichment program than the full-fledged preschool that they get in the morning. It's also with the approved calendar for the 24-25 school year, they will go to school 42 days less than morning days. So looking at the numbers and breaking it down, that's how we come up with the decrease.
I appreciate that, your diligence in figuring that out and taking that into account. That was thoughtful.
Any questions about the pricing?
So the total, full day just going up $25?
Yes. So morning session going up 25, full day going up 25, afternoon decreasing 33. And then before school care up 5, and after school stays the same except for the time.
Yeah, it's still a very, very affordable.
Oh, absolutely.
For parents.
Yeah, I appreciate the amount not being
Definitely.
raised too much.
Mhm. Right.
It's doable, workable into a budget.
Absolutely.
And looking at other preschools in the area, we're still lower, but considering other rates and what families are paying in the district.
Are there any other questions regarding the pricing?
No.
I have a question. I think my question is, so the ending time for Club Falcon 5 instead of 6, would that decrease the ability of certain parents that work late, having their kids there? Is that
Most kids are picked up by 5 o'clock daily. Occasionally we have one family that's 5:15. But we had a family that stayed, and one family that stayed until almost 6 o'clock at the beginning of the school year, but they moved up.
And do other programs, are they available till 6, or is 5 o'clock kind of a usual end time?
There is another school in Continentals that has after school until 6. When we were looking at the funding and the money we were spending on keeping 2 adults and then a person at the front desk in the afternoon, it was not making sense to keep it open up. We were losing money on that.
So how, if we did have families that tour and said, you know, we really were hoping until 6, how hard would it be to pivot like that in the fall? Would it have to come back here then for, would we have to, I mean, the price wouldn't change.
But the hours are
But
changing,
the
that's part
hours-
of the handbook, and we
so-
have to approve that.
So, okay. I don't want to, like, if you have several families that are like, if I can't stay till 6, I can't come. I'd like to be able to at least pivot if there's enough to make that pivot.
Right.
Okay.
And as far as the preschool handbook, not only does the board have to approve it, after that I have to send it into licensing.
Okay.
So if you make any changes, I also have to send it to licensing.
Is there a grace period, like, just because it, for parents that maybe finish at 5, it would maybe make sense to split the difference and maybe do a 5:30? But is there maybe like a grace period for parents that aren't there right at 5? Or is it just a?
Yeah, we don't leave them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're not just like closing the door and walking out, but.
Yeah, we better not.
Yeah.
No,
Glad we got that out there.
You know, that's one of the great things about Fountain Hills is we can be flexible. So I don't want to turn away a family because of that. So yes, we would try to exhaust any way we could do it internally without having to shift the whole program. But if we did, I just want to be able to know that it is possible to come back and make a shift if we need to, if it was going to save. And I appreciate that, Dr. Rakowski, thinking about that, because we don't want to turn anyone away. But I think historically what Leah's sharing is she's not seeing anyone till 6, and it may not be something that's needed. Also, you know, Boys and Girls Club, we might be able to work with them for 1 hour, you know, like a partnership with them, like, hey, you know, we'll bus, you know, can you pick them up at 5 o'clock and they need 1.5 hours, can you give them some kind of pricing if they're in our program? There's some options we could look at if it comes up. But we just want to make sure we got these price increases in before touring and registration starts hitting it really hard in the next couple weeks.
So I guess, sorry, one more thought along the lines of this. Would it be better to have the handbook say 5:30 and us close doors at 5 because we can? Or would it be better for us to end it at 5 and then have people wait for families that maybe are late? Or do you not run into people coming right at 5 anyway? Are you guys pretty consistent?
6 right now, no one
Yeah.
ever stays until 6.
Okay. But people are usually gone and picked up by 5?
Yeah, they just fall right behind the building and they go to the back playground, and we have had no problem with pickup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the board will think about that.
Thank you.
The thought, if we did stay until 5:30, like you suggested, then maybe we should consider even like a $2 increase or something, because then the hours are different than the morning.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a suggestion.
Okay. And then, are there any other questions regarding pricing? Okay, now we're going to move on to the actual handbook.
So the handbook that was approved last year after working as a team and our first year as Little Falcons, we went through and made just a few changes, just things that we've learned about licensing this year. Or for example, on page 1, our teachers are trained, but they are certified, and I think that's a selling point for our preschool.
I like that change.
I like that.
And the next page is just the pricing, just to show what it was. On page 3, the tuition information, we decided to add a payment schedule, just to make it easier for parents to know what they're paying for and when it's due. Notice that other school districts do that, and we feel that might assist parents in knowing exactly when to pay, and how to pay. The other change was just on page 4 on the enrollment procedures. And we have our Fountain Hills Unified School District enrollment procedures, but then we also have a couple required paperwork sheets of paper that the licensing requires, so just pointing that out as part of our enrollment procedures. But other than that, some of it was just like changing a little bit of wording. And just on page 7 for health services for medication, just, we wanted to just clarify that. So, just understand, you know, when a student can return to school if sick, and how we store medications. And then we do have some students that, on page 8, this was something in the old handbook they had, and we decided to bring it back on the potty train, just really spelling out for parents what it means to be potty trained, and just clarifying that for everyone. Yeah, and then I think those were just the big changes or additions to the book. And the last thing is we didn't have a parent handbook agreement form at the end, and we'd like parents to read that, sign the thing like that.
I think that's good.
I have one question. On the cover, it looks like the logo is different.
So we got a new logo, but I don't know how to expand it.
No, it's a joke. This is the logo we had created, and at first they were uncertain of it. So we went with a different logo to start the year, and then they came back later after, I think, a parent night and said everyone loved it. Okay, I just wanted to get on the record that the logo has been changed. Okay, all right, we're good.
So the logo's changed, that's not in red.
Yeah, it's not red, I just wanted to point that out.
On page 12, I noticed we have a change from ADHS to AZDHS. Do we want AZDHS also in the title and the licensing? It's at the bottom
It's
of
page 12 at the last paragraph, where you have ADHS licensing, but in red, we
Right.
changed it. Thank you.
I just have one question. With the illness, I noticed that it was changed from fever-free to symptom-free, just because I'm reliving our safe return to school policy where my daughter got sent home 3 different times for having a cough that lasted for about a month. Is there going to be some leniency and some discrepancy there where it's not, you know, you can kind of judge where it might be a lingering cough versus, oh, you coughed, you got to go home?
Yeah, we were not that strict.
Okay. I mean, I just know little kids, especially that age, they're probably always sniffling, always coughing, always something, so.
It was really the fever that kids wanted to return, like they were sent home from school at 2 o'clock and then they returned the next day.
Yeah.
That really making sure there's fever-free. Of course, we want to make sure all students are safe and that we're not just passing things along, so. But that was it was a fever this year that wanted to get sent back too soon.
Okay.
I have a comment about that too. You know, for instance, to me, the symptoms that are included here, including rash, and this may be, I'll admit this is picky, but let's say the rash is on a covered area. And most rashes associated with, you know, viral respiratory infections are not contagious, so really the presence of a rash, which may take several days to clear totally, we're keeping the kid out of school. So granted, it's picky, but the standard in these is usually fever-free. Having symptom-free is probably a stretch beyond what's usually applied. So I think we potentially keeping kids out that could, you know, benefit from being in school might be too strict. That's my thought.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got sick in September, and my cough lasted 3 months.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So,
At
yeah,
that point,
so.
it's probably not contagious either.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe rethinking some of the wording in the illness. I agree with Dr. Akowski, you know, with the rash. I get the fever, the nausea, the diarrhea, you know, severe cough and headache. I guess if it's severe cough with congestion, but like that dry cough nagged forever. It's hard because I get it, like parents, you know, it's like, okay, well, you were home for 12 hours, let's send you back to school, because all of a sudden their kid's bouncing back off the wall. But, you know, maybe finding a happy medium there, taking out the rash.
Or the wording could be free of significant symptoms. Now that leaves it subjective,
Right.
but it sounds like you're kind of being subjective anyway, right? Maybe?
And I feel like our parents are, you know, being considerate of other families and not sending back too
Yeah.
soon. We just had a couple incidents, but.
It's going to be free
so
of
we are-
significant symptoms for 24 hours.
Including being fever-free. I mean, the fever-free is a big one.
Yeah, I think fever's a big
And-
one.
Yeah, fever-free and free of other significant
symptoms for 24 hours. I think that's
Leave
it.
it, you know, open to interpretation, but still be safe from the medical standpoint.
You're almost better off leaving like the little individual symptoms off because, as Dr. Rakowski said, then it's subject to interpretation if you just say significant symptoms, where if a parent says, well, you can't send my kid home, they don't have any of these things, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you for all your work on this.
Yes,
I
thank
can
you.
tell
But
put a
yeah.
lot of work into it. Thank you.
Every year it just gets better and better.
Yeah,
So,
very good.
any other questions regarding the handbook? Thank you so much for your work and thanks for staying at the meeting.
She's got one more.
Oh, you
She's got
still
one more.
Well, then just stay right here. I was going to let you go. All right, summer school, go for it.
So, and previously, Nicole Valentino and Denise Matus have offered a summer school program, morning program for families. So they would like to offer that, excuse me, at the same time they've offered in the past, that would be 8:30 to 11:30. So it would end up being 14 days for $200, which has been the cost in the past. And then we would like to offer Club Falcon Camp in the afternoon for families that would like to send them to more of a camp opportunity. That would be Ms. Sims, who's our child care specialist, with Ms. Gretchen, one of our paraprofessionals that works in Club Falcon every day after school now. That would be from 1 to 4. So parents have the opportunity if they just want to go to a morning program for the summer or an afternoon program. For those families that have to work and need more of a full day program, then we would offer the 8:30 to 4.
And do they get lunch?
Yeah, that's my question.
So they have to, just like our camps that we offer in the fall break and spring break, they bring their own lunch.
They bring it, okay.
Okay.
So the camp, and then moving into the last week of June, when the summer programs with Ms. Matus and Ms. Valentino would end, we wanted to offer a full day summer camp, like our spring break camps.
I just have a question. So the full day morning program and Falcon Camp, 8:30 to 4, for 14 days is $480. But it's for the 8:30 to 4 for the 1 week is $120. So what's the difference between like the full day morning program and Falcon Camp versus week 5?
So the full day morning program is with certified teachers.
Okay.
And they're offering what they offer all school year.
Oh, okay.
Like a regular program. The afternoon program is, the Club Falcon Camp is just like a camp experience.
Okay.
Offering, they'll come up with the theme of the week, like they did planting over spring break, and they'll come up with the theme for that week and follow.
So then week 5 is just like a camp. It's
Right.
not like a program, certified program.
So to clarify, in the earlier ones, they will have a curriculum, and then in the last, this
Club Falcon
is just kind of more like a summer camp, just fun activities and still enriching, but maybe not educational.
And the morning we have like their morning meeting, going over calendar, like everything that they would, from their center times, everything that they complete now during a preschool morning would just be an extension. And I was talking to Denise and Nicole today, and they already have like 12 kids in each that are already almost full, so.
Nice. Wow.
Parents are excited about the summer opportunity, wanting to know more about summer opportunities that will help them, so.
Yeah, I've already seen a lot of parents asking what people are doing with their kids for the summer, so it's great that we got this out there.
Yeah, I said, don't even do that.
And
Hold on.
because this has already been established, it does not need board approval. This was just an FYI.
right?
So, quick question, with this, are they paid through a stipend, the staff members? Or is it like on, how do we work out that?
So Christina Sims as a child care specialist, she's a 12-month employee.
Okay.
And so, and then we'll have to look at Ms. Matus and Ms. Valentino and the paraprofessionals for.
I'm sure it's a stipend.
Yeah, it's set up
We can look
probably,
at
okay.
Historically, what we've done.
Okay, thank you.
So just to be clear, so moving forward, we can start advertising for the
Yeah,
summer
yes.
program.
It's already been established and there were no changes, so it does not require board approval.
Okay, so yeah, it's just the other things that are coming
Yeah,
up for?
yeah,
Okay.
it's the pricing and the
change.
handbook, because there's changes to it. And those are things that the board approves yearly as opposed to the summer camp, just like Camp Invention, they do that every year, so.
Okay. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Do we want to go back to the, to vote quickly on the minutes from before? Because I found where it is.
No, they were already tabled,
So it doesn't
so we
matter.
can't go back and vote.
Okay.
Thank you. They'll be on our next agenda.
Okay, I'll send it to.
Okay, thanks. Future action, the ACT presentation, club policies, other options for ESI, the ESA students in sports and pickleball. Again, those are future actions. It's not guaranteed that they'll be on the next agenda, but they will be coming back.
Well, can I ask that the club policies be a discussion on the next agenda? Because, I
I
mean,
think
we've
she's
been
waiting for you to
essentially-
to give her information.
But, I mean, I can email what I've said, which is, I just want a review of our policies and what we do to get a club started in our district. And I just want a discussion, so it's not necessarily a
Okay.
presentation or anything, it's just it has to be on the agenda in order for us
Sure.
to talk about it, so.
Those are the two things you're looking for, we can get that prepared and ready to go.
Thank you.
Jill, may I interrupt for a minute?
Yes.
We kind of looked at those, and I think we may have put that on for, we have it on May 1st.
May 1st.
Okay.
Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we have a big agenda on the 17th, and that's why. So. Okay. Anything else that you want to see on a future action, please let Krista or Dr. J know. So. Dates of upcoming meetings, April 17th and May 1st. Both will be business meetings here at 6 p.m. in the Learning Center.
With that, I move we adjourn.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, need to finish that.
Thank you.
I'll have her send the April 17th.
Okay, so I'm not going to sign these minutes because I'm not on there. Thanks for catching that, Rich.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I looked all through, so like I said, I didn't even check the attendance beginning. That's
Krista,
hilarious.
can you shred these because they're for the minutes and we're not.